I was right. The waiting room had a little bookshelf with some used hardcovers on it. When I stood up to walk to the bookshelf, it felt like my legs barely worked. It's not that they were weak, they were just slow. It took a full minute just to stand up off the couch, and another minute to take 2 steps to the bookcase. I scanned the old books on the shelf and picked out a copy of Moby Dick. My arms had the same problems as my legs. Just reaching 1 foot in front of me to grab the book took a long time. I actually got bored just waiting for my hand to reach the spine of the book. I slogged back to the couch and collapsed onto it in a slow motion fall that reminded me of the low gravity hops of astronauts on the moon. I opened Moby Dick slowly and began reading. I started with "Call me Ishmael" and got as far as Ahab throwing his pipe into the sea, which was all the way to the freaking chapter 30 before they called me back.
How are you feeling?
The research assistant asked me.
I feel slow. Actually, it's the other way around. Everything seems slow because you're fast. But my legs, my arms, they're moving in slow motion. Your body seems like it's moving slowly because your brain is fast. Your brain is running 10 or 20 times faster than normal. You are thinking and perceiving reality at an accelerated pace. But your body is still constrained by the laws of biomechanics. Frankly, you're moving much faster than a normal person. But your brain is running so much faster right now that even your fast walk seems very slow to you. That'd freak me out. That'd be fucked. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, especially because it's a drug, so you're like, well, I guess I have to live with this now. You know? Yeah,
I have. This is my reality for a bit. Even the idea, though, of like that much time passing, it's weird. It's kind of like a. It seems like a monkey paw kind of operation, doesn't it? Like I wish I had more time, and then
I wish I had more hours in the day, and it's like, womp womp.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought about my slow motion flop onto the waiting room couch. Even if my muscles had slowed down, my body would still react to gravity the same way. But in the waiting room, I even fell in slow motion. Slow muscles couldn't explain why gravity seemed weaker. My brain was going at warp 10. That's how I managed to read 3 magazines and the first 30 chapters of Moby Dick in 15 minutes. They ran a series of tests on me. The physical tests were fun. They made me juggle 3 balls, then 4, then 6. I had no problem keeping 6 balls in the air because they seemed to be moving so slowly. It was boring, frankly, waiting for each ball to move through its arc so I could catch it with my slow motion hands and toss it back into the air. They threw Cheerios in the air and I caught them with chopsticks. They dropped a handful of coins and I counted the total value before they hit the ground.
It's kind of interesting, the fatigue as well makes it seem like because he's moving so fast and probably like going around that his muscles are actually still becoming physically exhausted, you know?
Yeah, because he's moving so quickly.
This also seems like a kind of an interesting take on like the horrors of like getting super intelligence or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, oh, you becoming super strong and having that much access to your brain's functionality would actually just like be torture.
I feel like it would be like, if you were stuck in it, you would become like a great mind. Sure, you could process a lot of information, but it's like you're in a purgatory.
Well, that's the thing is that you would never even be able to enjoy the like advancements of what you're doing. So it's like everybody else is probably impressed with what you're doing, but everything is so nonchalant and non-fun and like, or so nonchalant, it's just not exciting in the least. Like it would just be such a miserable existence.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting, I think you could do a lot of good for like humanity, the world, so to speak, but it's certainly a martyr position. You would suffer.
Yeah.
The cognitive tests were less fun, very illuminating. Finish a 50-word word search, 3 seconds. Solve an intricate maze drawn onto a poster-sized paper, 2 seconds. View a slideshow projected at 10 images per second and answer detailed questions about what I saw, 95% correct. They told me I measured over 250 on the Knopf scale. Apparently, that's deep into the superhuman range of thinking speeds. Then they sent me home.
It'll wear off in a few hours, which will seem like days to you. Try to use the residual effects to get some work done. Catch up on work emails while you're still in high speed mode.
The ride home was horrible. It was only 3 metro stops, and in real world time, it took about 35 minutes. But in my drug accelerated hypertime, it felt like days.
Ugh.
Days. Just walking out of the medical research suite to the elevator seemed like it took an hour. I sprinted out of the office, willing my legs to push me faster, but the laws of biomechanics held me prisoner. As accelerated as my brain was, I couldn't do anything to make my legs work faster. The huge disconnect between my body and mind made it extremely difficult to judge how and when to slow down, turn, or rotate my body. I'd basically turned into giant slow motion spaz. I misjudged my speed and rammed into the wall by the elevator button at a pretty good speed. Even though I could see the wall coming at me, I couldn't make my finger outstretched to hit the elevator button, move away fast enough, and I jammed it against the wall. Hard. The pain was intense. If my brain had been running at regular speed, it probably only would have hurt for 30 seconds or so. But in my accelerated state, the intense pain seemed to last for half an hour, 45 minutes maybe.
Fuck.
Oh, every feeling is like super intense.
Well, yeah. Can you imagine like breaking a leg in this state
yeah, how
or
much
something?
that would hurt.
Well, also being able to hyperfixate, because I'm guessing his brain is able to hyperfixate on like all of the neurons activating and like all of the pain receptors activating and stuff, to where you'd almost feel like you'd be able to like feel and like understand like every crunch and like crack of your bone until it fully snaps. But it's this excruciating process that's almost an hour long. To sit in that painful thing for 45 minutes, holy fuck. And it's just like the pain is only elevating for that time too. Like,
yeah, I wonder if the effects will get worse as time goes on. That's kind of what I suspect.
but what's weird, did the doctor say any he didn't say how long it would last, right?
He said it'll last a few hours. Be sure to do your work emails.
That's right. Yeah, have fun doing your work emails. And it's like, yeah, you just sent me into hell, dude. Thanks.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate it. The elevator ride was horrible. Felt like I spent 4 or 5 hours just descending 7 floors, with nothing to look at but the interior of the elevator car. I sprinted to the metro station. I have to admit, this part was almost fun. Even though my body moved at what seemed to me super slow speed, I could still carefully choose how and where to place my feet, swing my arms, and turn my torso. It only took a block or two to getting used to having a brain that ran 2 dozen times faster than my body. Then I basically sprint danced the rest of the way, twisting and juking people on the sidewalk and dodging moving cars with inches, aka minutes, of clearance. I spent an hour in my time frame descending into the subway and running to the platform. Endless tedium waiting the 6 minutes for the Red Line train to arrive. Although there was no more to look at in the metro platform than inside the elevator, it was still intensely boring. I should have stolen that copy of Moby Dick. The Red Line train roared into the station in slow motion. The normally high-pitched squeal of its brakes was frequency shifted by my high-speed mind to a long, low tone, like a monotone tuba solo. It wasn't just the squealing subway train that was 3 octaves lower than normal. All sound was slowed to the point of near inaudibility. Voices were gone, shifted below the threshold frequency of my hearing. I did manage to hear a screaming baby on my subway car, her shrieks slowed to sound like whale songs. Sharp sounds like a car horn and trucks bouncing over potholes were low, muddied roars like distant thunder. Back at the research offices, I could still hear and communicate with the research staff, but now verbal communication with anyone would be impossible. The effects of the drug were still intensifying. I spent what seemed like days on that Red Line train. Days. Listening to the whole song of the screaming baby and the tuba solo of the brakes.
Yep.
Ordinary voices
Trying to film the video over here.
Range. Smells didn't seem to be a
Trying to film the YouTube video.
To the body odor.
No.
The stench of the train's brakes, the melange of farts and other smells wafting through the metro car.
Let me ask, so is he perceiving all these things too, like when he's looking at other people and they look like they're in slow motion?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Everything seems
just making
slow
sure
to him.
I'm trying to make sure I have I'm trying to get it visualized in my head.
Yeah, the world's moving incredibly slow compared to him.
Right. Even he feels like he's moving slow too. It's
Yeah,
just
his body
it's
is,
just the
but his
perception
mind
his
is
brain.
processing it,
Okay,
yeah.
right.
I finally got back to my apartment. Sprinting through my open door and into the front half at full speed was like
Blah,
a
blah, blah,
slow,
blah,
relaxing drift down a
blah.
lazy river. I was relieved to be home. At least I had stuff I could do there. Picked up the book I was reading, 100 Years of Solitude, and
Drink
finished it.
water?
Despite turning the pages so quickly that I tore many of them, it seemed like most of the time I spent finishing the book was spent on page turning and not actually reading. 3 minutes had passed since I got home. I tried to surf the internet. My God, it takes a long time for computers to boot these days, but it was too frustratingly slow. Hours, seemingly, to load each new page and a fraction of a second to read it. 100 articles in my newsfeed read and just 3 more minutes done.
So definitely time is slowing down even more.
Other streams.
As it goes on, yeah, it's getting worse.
I mean, like the thing of like an instantaneous thing, like a page on a browser opening up is taking hours now. Like that's fucking crazy.
And then he says, I dipped into my pile of yet to be read books and finished 2 more. 4 more minutes had passed. R.I.P. I decided to try to sleep off the remaining effects of the drug. Unfortunately, whatever part of my mind is responsible for perception, the part that's been accelerated to hyperspeeds by the drug isn't the same as the part that governs sleep. Despite being awake for what I perceived as days, my physical brain still thought it was 1:25 p.m. It was not ready for sleep. Nevertheless, I tried to sleep. Walked to my bedroom, slow 45-minute drift through my apartment, flung myself into bed, lazily falling like a feather onto the mattress. I closed my eyes and lay there for hours and hours, 10 minutes of reality time, before giving up. Sleep would not come. I was facing what was going to feel like days or maybe even weeks of being trapped in a slow-motion prison. So I took an Ambien.
Oh, God. That's not good. Taking another drug on top of that?
That sounds like a horrible idea. Wouldn't you take Coke instead? I'm sure he doesn't have access to Coke, but wouldn't you want something that's like...
Well, you would want something that's not a
upper?
downer. Yeah, exactly. You'd want an upper. Something that's going to, like, I guess, perk you up. But I guess the idea is that he's like, well, I'm just going to try to sleep through this. But even then, I would almost assume that by sleeping, I would sleep for half a second and my body would be fully rested. Like, it'd be impossible to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to sleep through it. I'd be afraid to dream on this drug.
Yeah.
That sounds even worse. The sensation of the pill and the splash of water I used to swallow it slide in my throat was sickening. A lump that blocked my breathing, moving like a slug down my esophagus. I read a book. 10 minutes had passed. Read another. 18 minutes since I took the Ambien. I threw the book across the room in disgust at my situation. The book slowly pureed and spun through the air like a leaf blowing in a breeze. It hit the wall with a long, faint rumble, the only sound I had heard for what seemed like hours. Then drifted to the floor like a flip-flop sinking in a swimming pool. The force of gravity hadn't changed since I took the pill. The laws of physics were the same. It's just my perception of time that has gone wackadoo.
I can't use it because
This meant I could use the speed things. Seemed to fall as a way of judging the effects of the drug. Based on how long it took the book to drift to the floor, I estimated the effects of the drug were still intensifying. Read a magazine, turned on the television. I clearly saw each frame of video like I was watching a slideshow. Frustrated, I turned the television off. I read some more. First 2 books of Churchill's A History of the English-Speaking Peoples. Not exactly a light read. Frankly, I hated it. But given the hours of tedium it would take to get another book off my bookshelf, just sitting on the couch and reading Churchill was better. Or at least less worse. It had now been 35 minutes since I took the Ambien. Lay down on the couch, closed my eyes. Time passed. I inhaled. Hours-long process. Time passed. I exhaled for more hours. Sleep would not come. I needed a new plan. I decided to go back to the offices where they gave me the drug. Maybe they would have something that could counteract its effects, or at least something to knock me out until it wore off. I exited my apartment as fast as possible, taking hours in my time frame to do so. I didn't even bother locking the door. It would have taken too long. Down the stairs, it's faster than the elevator if you run, through the lobby, out the front door, and onto the street. These few things felt like a long day at the office. Sprinting down the street, dancing and weaving between pedestrians with what must have looked to them superhuman dexterity. Down the first flight of stairs at the metro, across the landing, another hour. Then on to the second flight of stairs. That's when the Ambien hit me. The Ambien didn't make me sleepy. Not at all. Instead, it must have had a severe cross reaction with the experimental drug I took this morning. I was bouncing down the second flight of stairs, moving in slow motion, but still making perceptible progress. Then, wham! Everything stopped. The dull roar of the street and metro noise ceased, replaced by the most perfect silence I've ever experienced. My downwards motion seemed to completely freeze. Before the Ambien kicked in, my perception of time was maybe a few hundred times slower than real time. After the Ambien took effect, time moved thousands of times slower.
Oh, God.
Every second seemed like days to me. Even just moving my eyes to focus on a new point was like an impossibly slow scroll across my visual field. Over the course of the afternoon, I learned how to walk, run, and jump when my mind ran hundreds of times faster than my body. With another 4 or 5 orders of magnitude of slow down caused by the Ambien, body control was almost impossible. I fell on the stairs. Even though I was all but frozen in mid-step, controlling my muscles was impossible. I commanded my foot forwards for hours, then backwards for hours more when it seemed like I would miss the next step. Hours attempting to adjust the angle of my ankle, then readjusting when it felt wrong. Despite these efforts, I rolled my ankle on the next step. The pain wasn't at all mitigated by the slowness. Hours of increasing strain on my bent ankle. The nerve signals that send pain into the brain must work differently than the nerves in my ear. Sonic energy was spread out over time, diluted until it was imperceptible. Pain flowed into my brain undiluted by the change in my perception of time. Hours and hours of increasing weight on my turned ankle turned into hours of increasing pain upon increasing pain. I pitched forwards, my high-speed mind completely unable to control my low-speed body. I drifted downwards for days, managing to rotate my torso enough to keep my head from impacting the ground first. I eventually landed on my right shoulder. At first, the impact wasn't even noticeable. Then I felt a slight pressure in my shoulder as it came in contact with the ground. The pressure grew, bringing increasing pain for hour upon hour. My shoulder finally gave out, popping out of its socket with an endless, sickening tug.
Ugh. Yeah, so that's the kind of thing I was talking about with that bone, like breaking bone, like being able to feel your shoulder pop out of its socket would be so brutal. For that, like that long, my God.
Every detail of it, can't stop it. I came to a stop days later, crumpled onto the ground, staring at the ceiling. The pain in my shoulder still screaming with the intensity of a fresh, violent injury. I had plenty of time to think during that fall. If every second seemed like days to me, then each minute of real-world time felt like years. Even if the drug cleared out of my system in the next 2 or 3 hours, this nightmare would seem to last centuries. By the time I hit the ground, I had a plan. I would somehow get to the platform and throw myself in front of a train. I twisted onto my hands and knees, days of my dislocated shoulder crying for relief. I misjudged my rotation and rolled onto my back. I tried again, collapsing onto my face as I tried to figure out how to control a body that moved slower than grass grew. Weeks of effort were finally rewarded with success. I stabilized on my hands and knees. If just getting on all fours was this difficult, I figured that walking or running was completely out of the question. So I crawled. I crawled through the metro tunnel. The dumb looks on the faces in the crowd lingered on me for weeks. I crawled under the turnstile and onto the escalator.
I just want to say really quick, the escalation of time is very seamless. Like, I really enjoy how it hasn't been this thing of like all of a sudden weeks pass. It's just kind of like even his perception of how he's telling it, it's just kind of the way it is.
Their eyes fixed on me for weeks. Yeah,
for weeks.
Like that.
There was no real build up. Like at the beginning when it was like, it's kind of interesting because I wonder how intentional this is. Not to harp on it too long, but at the beginning, the guy had more time to kind of articulate his like the time passage of Yeah, I mean, this
Oh,
only 4 minutes had passed, and I had been reading for 30 minutes, or that kind of thing. Now, something
might
that's
be
as brief
done
as
this
him being
process
like, I was
alone.
finally able to get onto my hands and knees. It took weeks. Like,
Yeah.
even that has sped up in a way. Like it's taking longer and longer. Like the lapses of times of him even describing something to us that seems so short are now like become like the bridge is becoming wider and wider, basically, or longer.
It's becoming more direct, more
Yeah.
more rancid, basically.
More direct, but it's happening in a longer sense of time. Like the information we're given is shorter, but it's perceptually longer to him.
Yeah. The escalator spilled the rush hour crowd onto the platform at the same speed a glacier spills ice into the sea. I looked out over the crowded platform during my interminable downward ride. The train status sign said the next train would arrive in 20 minutes. 20 minutes was like a year to me. I'd have to spend a year on the metro platform waiting to die.
Oh, God.
I crawled off the escalator, enduring days of stupid expressions on the commuters' faces. I crawled a few feet to a concrete bench and curled up next to it, trying to find a position to lessen the pain in my shoulder.
Yeah.
Then my problem with time got worse. Impossibly worse.
God, how? Can you imagine watching people look at you for a year? It's only
and they're all just frozen in place.
people are just like awkwardly looking at you for an entire year. My God.
The massive slowdown on the stairs was just the beginning of the interaction between the experimental drug and the Ambien. It fully hit me while I was curled up by the bench. I blinked. Years of darkness followed. Sound was already gone, and with my blink, sight was gone as well. All that existed was the pain from my fall.
Oh my God. So he's in darkness with throbbing pain for years.
Yeah. That's so. I love that line. I blinked. Years of darkness followed. That's so good. My hyper-accelerated mind wasted no time compensating for the lack of sensory input. Voices spoke to me. They sung to me in languages that never existed. Patterns and faces and colors came and went in my mind's eye. I recalled my whole life and imagined living another. I forgot English. I settled into a profound despair. I spoke to God. I became God. I imagined a new universe and brought it to life with my thoughts. Then I did it all again and again. My eyes opened with geological slowness. A faint glow. Weeks. A slit of light. Weeks. A narrow view of the metro platform. Ankles of the commuters near me and an advertisement on the opposite wall. I extracted my phone from my pocket. Project that spanned decades. How can I even explain the boredom? The pain in my shoulder is nothing compared to the boredom. Every thought I can think, I have thought hundreds of times already. The view of ankles and advertisements never changes. Never. The boredom is so intense it's tangible, like a solid object of metal and stone wedged into my skull. Inescapable.
Ugh.
What are my options? If I crawl and fall into the tracks without an oncoming train to crush me, I won't die. I'll experience even more pain from the 4-foot fall, but I'll most likely be rescued by some do-gooder on the platform and unable to act when the train finally does arrive. My suffering in that scenario will be endless. So I wait for the train, so I can throw myself under it. When it finally hits me, I will experience the pain of being ripped to pieces for centuries, until finally the light of life leaves my brain and my experience ends. I've lived hundreds of lifespans at the foot of this bench. I'm far older in spirit than any human who has ever lived. Most of my life experiences have been a snapshot of pain huddled on the floor of a subway platform with an unchanging view of ankles and advertisements. This post is my plan B, my Hail Mary, my long shot. I've spent lifetimes typing and posting this message in the hope that someone will read it and become convinced that my suffering must end. Someone on this platform right now. Someone who will find the man curled under the bench, the man who crawled down the escalator, and kill him as swiftly as possible, a bullet to the temple. If you're armed and at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot me.
Wonderful.
That was great. I like that one. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely wonderful. That by far, out of all the things we've read, this would be the most excruciating. This is the most horrific thing we've ever read in terms of
pain
actual,
wise, like
in terms of actual despair and horror. This is by far the most horrifying thing we've ever read. In just the theory of like actually living that thing. Like obviously there's stories that instill a lot of fear in us as well, but this one is just being a thing of actually trying to put yourself in those shoes of, I mean, 10,000 years. Like, can you even imagine you know what it reminded me a lot of was the Junji Ito story, The Long Dream. It's my favorite Junji Ito story, and it reminds me of that one.
That is what it. I was trying to think of something. That and there was another story it reminded me of those similar. Those thing. Maybe I was just thinking The Long Dream. Yeah, it's very similar.
It's probably The Long Dream, and then if like a movie, my brain was kind of trickling over into Limitless. Like after a while, I kept picturing the guy looking like Bradley Cooper from that movie.
Yeah,
there's just something horrifying about messing with perception of reality. It's like a very I guess uncanny, weird way to pretty much, I mean, pretty much this is hell. I mean, I don't know any, like it's an eternity of suffering, you know. And I think something that I just really love the monkey paw aspect of making almost like eternal life feel like hell, you know, like someone who would wish I want to live forever. This is what it would be, you know. Maybe not everything slowed down, but still that idea, that boredom. Like the most horrifying thing is the idea of for thousands of years laying there and just seeing ankles and nothing. Like you can't. I love the part too when he's like, I forgot the human language. I spoke to God. I became God, and I did it over again. It's like the cycles of not. I mean, there's probably not even a word for it. Like it's beyond insanity. It's like I don't even know. Like how would you even describe that?
I mean, it's like a hell, right? If your brain perceives time that slowly, I mean, like you said, like when his eyes were opening, years of a glint of light, right? Like it's horrific. And hypothetically, if he has to do that for hours, it would be millions of years, right?
I wonder if after a while too, do you think that there would be a point ever that the brain would just like, because that's like that was kind of the ending in The Long Dream, was that in his mind each time he slept millions of years had passed to the point where it physically was altering his body until he just like turns to dust. Do you think that in this reality, in this thing, in this universe, do you think something would happen where your brain is moving so fast that like it rapidly ages? Like I wonder if there would be any kind of physical altercation.
There would have to be,
right?
Your brain moving that fast, it would change so much about your body. I mean, like realistically,
probably organ failure or something.
The synapses in your body can only move so fast, right? And at the speed his brain is processing, his synapses are moving faster than the speed of light, right? But within reality, if your brain was moving that much that fast, you would probably seize and die. Like for your brain to process information that quickly, it would be like an overload, effectively.
Yeah.
You'd have an aneurysm or something.
Yeah. What would be weird though is that even though, you know what's kind of interesting to think about is that it might even be happening now, but the perception of time is just getting longer, so it doesn't actually execute until, like, it'd almost be something where you're having an aneurysm, but it takes millions of years to fully like go through your perception or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that just is so fucking brutal. I mean, even trying to actually wrap your head around the idea of like typing out that message, or like this Reddit post would be something that would just be like, I mean, I don't even know. I can't even describe, just to look at your days and you're like trying to type and trying to do that. And like a T pops up. Like if you're like my long shot, you just typing my takes God knows how many years. Pretty
Yeah.
fucking brutal.
It's heavy. I really love that story. I love the way that ended too. Just
It was
like,
I feel like it's weird. I feel like it I don't know if it was just the amount of time that goes into this, how slow time went, but for such a short story, it felt so full. Like it felt much longer than I expected. When we kind of were looking at this at first, I was like, oh, I wonder if this is going to be enough. But it really kind of fucks with you. I really wonder mentally if I was like slowing down in my own, in like my head, like talking about it so much, you know?
mm-hmm.
I don't know. Pretty crazy.
How did I get?
Great
Went
story
pretty
though.
hard. Big fan. I like that one. That one was a banger, I feel like.
An absolute mad lad banger.
So from there, we have some other stories for him. There are other stories within this universe, kind of within like the storyline of the Glenmont Metro. There is a 3-part one called this is why I didn't want to give away the title. My patient spent 8 million years under a bench at the Glenmont Metro. So that's its own 3-part story. We may not want to read that one, or at least give it a while, just because it feels like my prediction is it probably gives too much.
Yeah, I would like to enjoy this
explanation.
story. I think just for like let it sink and let me like live with it for a bit. You know.
Another one from the same author. As a matter of fact, if you go to his website, A New Kind of Monster, he has some of his stories grouped by different like styles. So there's ones for called Notes from the Laboratory. There's one about cosmopathology, which is a really cool term. And then he has one for Glenmont and the Second Death Universe. So obviously the first story in that series is the one reread. If you're armed and at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot me. And then the second one is this story called My Daughter Wants to Eat a Woman Who Shares Her Birthday, which is another banger title, by the way.
Yeah.
Then after that, there seems to be a 3-part stories that is about the person from the Glenmont Metro story. We may get into that one day. And then it seems that Peter Frost David has made an entire book kind of built in this universe called Second Death. So
Ooh.
if the Glenmont Metro thing sounds cool to you and you want to see more, well, check out the Second Death.
Yeah.
But this is the second short story he has written, at least according to his website, within this universe. So we're going to get into that and see how we like it now.
Yeah, I love these titles.
Oh yeah, they're good. They're great. From that first story, I'm hooked. The guy's cooking.
Yeah. Cooking up a storm.
So, my daughter wants to eat a woman who shares her birthday. The only way this is going to make sense is if I start at the beginning. August 21st, 1982. A baby girl was born shortly after midnight. I wasn't the mother's doctor, but I was the attending on the same labor and delivering floor. Even though the newborn's Apgar, I'm sure that my sister's a nurse. She could probably tell me what that is. Even though
Editor, put in a AppGuard definition because I don't know.
Apgar thing. I assume it's something to do with the baby stats or whatever.
Yeah, the baby's baseball card.
Pretty much. She was clearly in great distress. The on-call pediatrician raced the child to the NICU. 20 minutes later, I was called to consult.
You want me to check on the mother?
I'm an obstetrician. I care for pregnant women and deliver their babies. Once they're born, the infants become pediatric patients. Why was I being called into the neonatal unit?
No, Dr. Kaizen, it's the
And
child.
this texture
Please,
kind of
come to the
fucking
NICU.
I heard panic creeping into my colleague's voice. The baby lay in a NICU incubator, screaming. The nursing staff stood at a distance. None of them were looking at the child. They stared at the floor, or the far wall, or at me. They were experienced neonatal ICU nurses. They had dealt with every horrible condition that could possibly result from birth, but whatever was in the incubator had rattled them.
How is this an obstetrics case?
The pediatrician gestured to the incubator.
Please examine the patient, Dr. Kaizen, and tell me what you think.
The baby girl looked like a healthy birth weight baby, 8 pounds or so, but her abdomen was terribly distended. She certainly had a good reason for screaming. I gently palpated the girl's bulging belly, expecting to feel signs of fluid or gas. I didn't. Instead, I felt an enlarged uterus. The fundus was near the infant's sternum. I gently squeezed the sides of the child's belly, feeling with my fingertips a miniature version of what I feel with my whole hands in adult patients. I placed my palm on her tiny belly. There was an almost imperceptible flutter. Something gently pushed against my hand.
So is this saying that the baby is pregnant? Pretty much is what they're saying. The baby's like a little Russian nesting doll or something.
Yeah, there's a baby inside the baby. I turned to the NICU staff. Their eyes were locked on me, hands holding their mouths or touching their foreheads. I said,
"This infant is pregnant, and she's in labor." Oh my god!
Gross.
Good fucking lord!
Oh man, disgusting. I did my best to remain calm, but I heard my voice crack as I spoke. Something was inside this newborn. Something had grown inside her as she developed in the womb, and it wanted to get out. I have as much experience as the NICU nurses with the terrible effects of abnormal pregnancies. No matter what condition my patients and their fetuses had suffered from, I never felt what I felt in that moment. Fear. Fear of what was inside of this baby. I delivered the infant's baby by cesarean section. The operation, normally performed on an adult to deliver a normal-sized child, was difficult and time-consuming due to the mother being an infant herself. When I was done, I felt the infant's own baby in my hand. A tiny, 2-inch long, but fully developed and very much alive baby girl. My fear dissipated and was replaced with a more ordinary sense of concern. This impossible little baby who, only 2 hours earlier, filled me with fear was, in the end, still a baby. She needed to be cared for. Premature babies, children born months too soon, require extreme interventions to keep them alive. Lungs, for example, require nearly 9 months to mature. Premature babies, as small as the child I delivered, always require breathing support. But this baby had no breathing problems. Her color was good. She cried normally. Her lungs had the full 9 months of development. Somehow this child had been conceived at nearly the same time as her mother, and gestated for 9 months inside her simultaneously gestating parent. This, of course, is impossible.
How did you get here?
I asked her after I gently laid her in her own NICU incubator.
Don't answer that. I think I'll be better off if I don't know.
What an interesting, This is an interesting, like, body horror setup.
Yeah, it's weird, but the idea of like like a baby that's like a Russian nesting doll, pretty much, where it's like there's no rhyme or reason, almost like what is it, divine? What is it called when it's
Immaculate conception?
Yeah, almost like an immaculate conception thing, like a really fucked version of that.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up. The grandmother, the 22-year-old woman who delivered a pregnant baby.
What do you want me to look at?
To do with the miraculous daughter her new child delivered. She referred to her granddaughter as the excess tissue you removed from my baby. I mean, yeah. I mean, honestly, what else would you say, right?
Well, I guess it's just the idea. It's a healthy. It's a tiny keychain baby. Don't get me wrong, but
the only thing I would think is like, well, maybe it was like a twin. Like it was twins, and then one of them like tried to absorb the other twin, because that happens. Maybe it wasn't absorbed, but it kept developing by something. I guess that'd be the only rhyme or reason you could give it.
Yeah, well, it's crazy that it's completely healthy. It's just small, and it's weird too that the baby's like ovaries were working, and like it's just so fucking crazy. But I guess too, I would probably be living in denial as well.
Well, yeah, be like, okay, absolutely not, right?
Yeah.
The NICU nurses never warmed up to the grandchild. They did the minimum necessary to keep her healthy, but they didn't dote affection and attention onto her as they did with the other tiny patients. I'm not religious, but I do believe in the idea of universal balance, cosmically and individually. 3 years earlier, my life was thrown into imbalance when my wife died of an aneurysm. This tiny girl born to an infant mother, the girl referred to as excess tissue, filled me with a sense of direction. I sensed in her a path towards the equilibrium that I lost. I adopted her. I named her Helen. The grandmother's reaction and the impersonal way the NICU nurses treated Helen told me that I needed to hide the circumstances of her birth. If her grandmother and the nursing staff couldn't find a way to see Helen as a person, then how would the rest of the world treat her? From the perspective of the adoption papers, Helen was born premature to a mother who was not competent to raise her. This is true. How could her mother, an infant, raise another infant? The family, the paperwork we recorded, did not want anything to do with the child. Also true. The fact that Helen's mother was only 90 minutes older than Helen was omitted. Man, okay,
So creepy.
What I really like about this author is he pushes these scenarios where sentences like that exist, right? Because there were a couple times in the last story it was like that. It was like, I blinked, years passed, right? What a cool like predicament we've got ourselves into. And then that line, the mother was only 90 minutes older than Helen.
Hey, Mom!
Like, well, you know, stuff like that.
Can you check on the dog?
I think it shows too that with confidence in writing.
Oh, then what am I hearing?
In any sense, like very Cronenberg. One thing I love about like Cronenberg stories is there's really no explaining the world. It's just kind of showing. Like it's just like this is just it is what it is. And by doing so too, you immediately get bought in. And like there's so many times where people would try to justify this, or like they would do a whole lap around to have this make sense, versus just being like it. I mean, it's just it is what it is. 90 minutes older baby. It makes no sense, but you're fully engrossed in the story.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter how we got here. We're here now. What do we do with it?
Yeah, this is the reality you're in.
Okay, good.
Yeah. The adoption process required a maternity and a paternity test. Both parents must approve the adoption. Given Helen's strange background, we tested her mother, the infant, and her grandmother, the 22-year-old new mom, and her husband. The DNA analysis proved that the infant who bore Helen was indeed Helen's mother.
Okay, hold on.
Mom and her husband were Helen's grandparents. The implication is astounding. 9 months before Helen was born, some unknown male DNA entered her mother, who had yet to be born. The DNA somehow combined with the mother's, and Helen began to exist.
Oh, weird.
Pretty weird.
So, do you think this is going into immaculate?
Both of them
I
have.
think that's what it's saying, or it's going to be like some. This author. I mean, we've only read one of his stories, so I don't know. But off the one we read, it was very sci-fi, right? So maybe it's more of a sci-fi thing, you know, like maybe this child was like created by like a non-human entity, like maybe the father or the mother isn't human or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's an interest, like as soon as the narrator said, I'm not a religious person, I figured that it was going to go into a place that is going to test the person's belief system.
Faith, yeah.
Right.
Probably. I mean, this certainly would. This is insane.
Yeah.
I raised Helen and she grew up. She was a normal kid, mostly. I hate to gloss over or trivialize our happy years together. Please try to picture a single dad happily raising a beautiful, brilliant, and energetic daughter. The incidents I recount here only stand out now that I see what Helen became. Were these warnings that I ignored, or that I rationalized away as evidence of Helen's fantastic imagination? The first incidents happened when Helen was 8 years old. We were eating lunch at the mall food court. I was talking to her and I paused for her to respond. She didn't. Her attention was laser focused on something on the other side of the seating area. I turned and followed her gaze. Another girl, about the same age as Helen, stood in line with her mother to get pizza. Got a sick feeling in my gut when I realized who the mother was. I'd only met Helen's grandmother a few times, but I remember what she looked like. Little girl ordering pizza was Helen's mother. The woman was Helen's grandmother. At that time, Helen had no idea that she was adopted.
Why are you looking at those people, Helen? I'm looking at the girl. I want to eat her. Why do you want to eat another person? Not any person, Dad, just her. Helen, that's not an appropriate thing to say. I know, but it might help me get out one day. Get out what? What out of what?
She never answered. Bro.
I like that.
That's fun. See what I mean? We're in such a weird scenario. There's like a little child that's like shouldn't exist and wants to eat her mother who's the same age as her.
One thing with people that do this kind of stuff and they just go full force with this like just full steam ahead with these weird ideas is that you're then able, like, then there's no boundary. Like the absurdity of things are all believable and like you treat them seriously, you know? Versus if you had it so grounded and then all of a sudden someone said something absurd, well, then you're just like, you're dancing around the idea of like, well, what? Why would they do, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I love this. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna pick one really weird thing, and I'm gonna commit to it. It's gonna be weird. The opening lines, like the baby's pregnant, right? And now it's like we keep following that. It's not pulling from other places to be strange. It is strange in its own unique sense, and I like that. The second strange event occurred when Helen was 10 during a visit to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. We wandered the galleries together. I paid more attention to what Helen found interesting than to the art itself. I wanted to know what she found boring and what inspired her. We found ourselves in front of a 19th century oil painting depicting Christ's descent into hell. The gloomy painting featured a desolate landscape, a burning city filled with the dead, monsters, demons, the river Styx, and, of course, Jesus himself breaking down the gate to gain entry into hell to rescue the souls of the just. Helen stopped abruptly in front of the painting. She stepped towards it, studying the painting so closely her nose almost brushed the canvas. She examined each detail carefully, moving deliberately from each figure to feature to the next so she wouldn't overlook anything. Finally, she scrutinized the depiction of Christ
Hey,
breaking down
there
the
it
gate to
is.
hell. She started giggling, then laughing loudly.
What's so funny?
I wasn't worried at that point, just curious.
The picture's so silly. Christ descending to hell is silly? What? The gate is silly. The gate is the way out of hell, not into it. You don't need to break in. You need to break out. It's just so funny. Plus the door isn't big enough.
Yo!
Fuck that. I'm like, yeah, this would be the time where I do, sounds good, hell. I'm going to go get some Dippin' Dots, and I would leave that little bitch there forever. No way in hell.
You know for a fact it would know how to find its way home.
Oh, God, easily. I had cab fare. Helen, how did you get cab fare?
Yeah, I'm going to eat you now, like a little monster thing.
Daddy, I'm hungry. I want your toes.
Yeah. I hope, you know what? I hope your kid bites.
God, no shit. Well, it's going to happen now.
That would fit. That would be so fitting if you had a biter. Oh, man. Dude, that is so... well, that's not what the gate to hell looks like. Oh, it's great. Now I was worried. The image of Helen's mother screaming in the NICU incubator with Helen squirming inside of her flashed into my mind's eye. The fear that I experienced when I felt Helen kicking in her mother's miniature womb flooded me.
Helen, what are you talking about? When I go to hell, I'm going to eat my way out through my bloodline. Good fucking God! My word! Helen, why do you think you're going to hell? That's a very sad thing for a little girl to believe. It's just something I know. I remember it, even though it hasn't happened yet. Oh, wow.
Oh,
that
let's
is
go.
so sick.
Let's go.
That is so fucking sick. I love it.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
I think the dad just like looking at her,
even though it hasn't happened yet.
The dad like looking at her, kind of like a little confused, but like almost emotionless, and he's like, Oogie.
And also, thank God it didn't go a weird route, right? Like with like the pregnant child or whatever. It's like her soul was taken from hell and just thrown somewhere to be reborn. You know what?
I would be so pissed if I was that dad, where I'm like, I took home the fucking keychain baby, and everyone was giving me odd looks, and I thought I was being a good guy. Turns out that they were like fully right to be so suspicious and weirded out. Turns out they were
completely right. Turns out I'm the one who didn't recognize.
Yeah, I'm apparently the fucking asshole here. Cool.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm the bad guy. Man, gosh, that's so cool. Then she skipped away to the next gallery of paintings.
There we go.
See, here's the thing. People always they try to be absurdist, and they'll recreate it, and it always comes out as nonsensical, right? It's always like, oh, well, everything's just random. And it's like, no, this isn't random. Sure, it's an absurdist concept, but it has a track of logic that it's sticking with, at least so far, right? Of like, the child was weird, it was strange, and now it wants to eat her, and now it's a thing from hell. Like, you're developing off the same idea in a pattern of logic. It's just a very weird one you've pulled out of.
I think it works well. It works well because of the absurdity of how the child came to be, right?
Yeah.
So now you're starting to unweave, or you're starting to weave this web of the backstory, or kind of like more of the demented side. So the even the way that the child is born in this immaculate conception kind of thing is interesting, because you believe it's going to be a religious, but it's, you know, kind of the negative side of that religious.
Yeah.
You know, like it's fun. I really like it.
It bangs. I like it so far. The final incident that stands out in hindsight, some kind of red flag, happened 7 years ago. Helen was doing postdoctoral work at Lawrence Livermore, but was home for leave during the Christmas holiday. Helen was a workaholic. She might have been on vacation, but she never stopped working. This is fun too, just the idea that like for like 20, 30 years, she was a perfectly normal girl, except he can only think of 3 times she was weird, right?
Yeah.
Also, I guarantee you, this kind of woman would absolutely decimate half of the men watching this video.
Oh, 100%.
Could you imagine like an actual demon lady who like remembers hell and stuff?
Cleaning up shop.
People up. Several men in these comments would falter. I fear.
El Diablo. Yeah. Oh yeah.
They just fall over themselves to give their soul away. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Not saying I haven't been there before, but I have been picked from the vine, so to speak, as sin. So I'm safe.
The Lord
I can judge
has
the rest
tested
of you.
me many times.
I can judge you all from the safety of my basket, as you all hang on the vine, willing to be eaten up by the foxes of the field, so to speak. During the time she was home that year, she worked even more intensely than usual, and that's saying a lot. She earned a physics PhD from Caltech in just 3 years. I don't think she worked fewer than 12 hours a day even once during those 3 years. I was happy she was home, but she was so focused on a lab-related problem that it was more like having a cardboard cutout of my daughter visiting me than an actual person. For nearly a week, all my attempts to start a conversation failed. She'd respond with one-syllable answers to my questions and immediately curl back around her notebook. Finally, I asked her what she was working on. She stared at me, blinking for a minute. Mine slowly descended from the world of high energy physics to the world of normal human interaction.
Oh, sure.
She handed me her notebook, a hardcover journal with the word record stenciled on the front. Or record, I should say, stenciled on the front. I opened the book to the page she had been writing on. The only way I can describe what I saw there was that it was satanic. A pentagram, an upside-down star inscribed in a circle, filled half the page. The rest was filled with intricately drawn symbols. Strange curving shapes drawn from an alphabet I had never seen. Decorative lines linked the constellations of symbols. Lines with loops, curves with arrows, arcs with circles and triangles drawn on top of them.
He's been balanced with 20.
Helen, what
Very,
is this?
very.
Dad, it's math. It looks like you're, I don't know, worshiping the devil. The devil, really?
She started laughing. It was the first time I heard her laugh since she arrived 5 days earlier.
Lucifer, the Lord of Lies, or is it flies? One of those. I'm not trying to be like, I don't know, Tipper Gore. I'm just saying it looks a little wacko.
She laughed so hard she fell out of the chair. She finally recovered and climbed back into it.
It's a problem for work. I'm trying to design a thermal stabilization system. These devil words, or whatever you think they are, they're just stochastic tensors. The whole thing is just a huge stochastic differential equational problem. God, I'm too fucking stupid to read this shit. What about this demon summoning thing, the pentagram?
She turned off the hilarity.
Now that's interesting. When you do the math, as I've clearly done here, it turns out a star inside of a circle is the epitome shape of Jesus Christ. Inside a circle is the optimum shape of the thermal elements we need to stabilize the...
She cut herself off, paused, and chose her neck words carefully.
to stabilize the thing that needs stabilizing.
That's an interesting idea, that demonic images pop up in, because that's the kind of the joke about circuit boards, right? That the circuitry outlining looks like old demonic and angel sigils, like their names printed. So like technology rots forth these forgotten like names and ideas of, you know, spirituality and stuff like that. The way demons can speak without speaking, so to speak. That it's just a fun element for like religious horror, and it's cool that kind of pops up here. I'm sure she's expressly demonic and knows she's demonic from what we've seen, but her being like, oh well, coincidentally, an upside down star inside of a circle is the best way to thermal stabilize. So it's like I don't know. It's a fun like loop back of like cultural demonology mixed into like the science and this girl being a demon and stuff like that. It's just, I'm completely sold. I love everything about this so far. I was going to press her. I know she works on classified projects at the lab and isn't free to say much about them, but I thought I could tease out a little more information about what she was actually doing with her life. But then she changed the topic to the subject I've been dreading since the terrible and wonderful night that she was born.
Dad, when you adopted me, do you remember if you came across any information about my biological family? Specifically about my biological father? Oh, Helen.
I flopped onto the couch.
Why do you want to know about your father? It's not like I want to meet my birth family and try to get all my kumbaya. Believe it or not, I have a professional interest in the subject. Helen, nobody knows who your father is. That's what I thought.
And she dropped the subject. My daughter, who pursues everything she's ever been interested in with a relentless white-hot intensity, simply drops her questions about her own father. Do you know why? Because she knows her father's the devil. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where they're going with this.
I hardly saw or even talked to Helen after that Christmas. Her visits home became infrequent. We would go 6 months or more between phone calls. Then she died.
Damn!
She was working on a project for the Army. Not at Livermore, they said. Somewhere else. There was an accident involving a high-energy experiment. She was killed along with 12 other scientists. Their bodies were vaporized. There were no remains. Losing a wife and a daughter is too much for one lifetime. Couldn't work after that. I had to retire. I grieved. I tried to kill myself.
Oh, damn.
I spent 3 weeks. I spent 3 weeks in an institution. I somehow inched my way back up to something that looks like a functional person. Then the mail started showing up. The Army, apparently, never stopped sending her paychecks. 6 months after Helen died, a rubber band bound bundle of pay stubs with her name but my address arrived in my mailbox. W-2 forms showed up next. Paperwork for benefits enrollment. Retirement account statements showing ongoing contributions. The paperwork that modern life produces kept coming. I called her HR office dozens of times. Their answer was always the same.
We're sorry for the confusion. We'll look into it.
Then an envelope from a company named Parental DNA Analysis appeared in my mailbox. It was addressed to Helen. I tore it open while standing in the driveway. It contained the results of a paternity test.
Ooh.
Child, Helen Kaizen. Father, hair sample supplied by client. Probability of paternity, 99.9 repeating percent. Somehow, before she died, Helen found her father. She had found the person whose DNA entered her mother's embryo and, contrary to everything known about human development, produced a child. Or she had at least produced a hair sample from the man who contributed half her genome. Interesting. So I would say, we have a break there. If I would guess, in these high energy experiments that require setting up a pentagram and stuff like that, she did like a demon summoning ritual, right?
Yeah, that's what I was assuming as well, yeah.
Yeah, she got hair from the devil. Yeah, that goes so hard. I saw Helen. She's changed. I was returning from running errands when she arrived at my house. I knew something was happening when I turned into my neighborhood. The streets were full of dogs. What looked to be every neighborhood dog, Labradors, Chihuahuas, and everything in between were running around like crazy. They were barking, growling, crying, jumping, and nipping at the air. Their owners were futilely running after them. I pulled into my driveway. There was a package next to the door. It was addressed to Helen. I lugged the heavy cardboard box into the living room. The package was only the size of a banker's box, but it was as heavy as a box of rocks. I sighed. Why was Helen's death nearly as strange as her birth? I wondered what I would be doing at that moment if the aneurysm hadn't taken my wife 2 decades earlier. Would I be happier? I opened the box. Inside was a steel case. The kind of case you'd use to ship something expensive and fragile. A post-it was stuck to the top of the steel case. On it, someone had written,
Dad, open this ASAP.
I pulled the steel case out of the cardboard shipping box and thunked it down in the dining room table. I undid the heavy-duty latches and opened it. Inside was a tablet computer. Underneath that was a hard plastic case. Another post-it note was stuck to the tablet screen.
Turn me on.
I did. It booted into a heavily customized version of the regular operating system and automatically started a messaging app. I typed a message.
Hello?
I waited a minute. Another minute. Someone finally typed a response.
Dad, what is my mother's name? It's crazy.
I started to cry. This was probably a joke or a crazily complicated scam, but the thought that maybe I was messaging Helen was too irresistible. I never saw her body. Her paychecks keep showing up in my mailbox. Why couldn't I be talking to her?
Helen, where are you?
Another long pause.
Dad, I know who my father is. I met him. I need to find my mother. I know how I was born. I know you know who my mother is. Tell me her name and I'll tell you where I am. Does that not feel like a trick from the devil or something like that?
It does.
It's like,
well, I imagine.
You know what I mean? Like, I do not believe that's her. I guess what I'm saying. Like, that's my gut reaction. If it is her,
well, I'd say it could be her because I think she's been a demon or like, what's the name of the kid from the Omen? Damien. I feel like she could be like an Antichrist figure or something like that. And now she's communicating through hell, effectively.
Right.
I truly didn't know her mother's name. The infant I performed the cesarean section on was less than half an hour old when I operated. She hadn't even been given a name yet.
I don't know your mother's name, Helen. But I know your grandmother's name.
Then I typed in the name of the woman who said my daughter was just excess tissue. A minute passed, then 5. Was Helen gone?
Open the smaller case. Turn the camera on.
I pulled the black plastic case out of the steel box and opened it. Inside was a video camera nestled in a custom-cut foam insert. The sticker on the camera said, LL FLIR calibrated, and the date less than 2 weeks earlier. It was an infrared camera from Lawrence Livermore. I found the power switch and waited for it to come to life. I typed into the tablet.
It's on.
I stared at the screen without blinking. She finally wrote.
I'm in the backyard.
I ran through the kitchen and flung open the back door. The yard was empty. I collapsed on the threshold and wept. Whoever I'd been messaging to was not Helen. It was a joke. I heard her growl. The beagle who lived next door was standing by my backyard gate. The dog bared its teeth and snarled at my empty backyard. The dog thought something was there. Whoever I was messaging on the tablet said they were in my backyard. I'm slow sometimes. I realized the camera in my hand was there for a reason. I lifted the camera and scanned it across the yard. Something was there. Something huge. Rendered in the infrared camera's garish shades of yellow, pink, and red was standing directly in front of me. It was too close and too big to see all at once through the camera's narrow field of view. This is so cool. I started by aiming the camera at the grass. I saw 4 huge feet with long, 5-jointed with long 5 jointed toes protruding at odd angles. It was hard to get a sense of their size on the infrared, but my guess was that each foot was the size of a yoga ball.
Wow.
I ran inside the house and slammed the door. Bro, let's go. She's just, it's described as almost like the Leviathan of Revelation, like the 7-headed beast with the wings and the head of a lion. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I caught my breath and peered out the back window. To my naked eye, the backyard was still empty. I aimed the camera out the window. The same feet were visible in the infrared spectrum. So not to be pedantic, because I know the author doesn't know this and I know he's trying. But infrared cameras cannot see through glass. Just so you know.
What if it's a demonic one, though, that Helen gave him?
Well, I thought it says it's from the laboratory. I thought the idea is you can only pick up infrared signals. So like it's on the visible spectrum.
What if it's a demonic lab camera?
Well, no, because the way infrared works is it picks up heat signatures, right? So if there's a window in the way, it's just blacked out.
What if it's demonic heat signatures, Isaiah?
You know what? You're right. Maybe there's a perfect imprint of the world and the thing on the window from heat. Sure, Hunter.
Okay, there we go. Well, just making sure.
The same feet were visible in the infrared spectrum. I raised the camera. The thing had a body like, I don't know what. An upside-down dog merged with an octopus? It made no sense. Appendages with a dozen elbows sprouted irregularly from the body. The arms or tentacles or whatever you'd call them ended in hooves, bird feet, and human-like hands. One of the hands held a tablet computer identical to the one I left in the living room table. A face was senselessly placed on the side of the thing's body. There was no neck, nothing to even suggest a head. Just a face stuck on the body like an afterthought. I aimed the camera at the face. The autofocus worked for a moment and the face became clear. It was Helen.
Hello, mate.
She smiled. It reminds me of like those old like 18th century depictions of demons where they're like these little balls of faces and feet like crawl around.
Almost like weird looking animals, like the old Renaissance paintings of what demons
it's
are.
like they all got like mushed together, you know?
Just like a weird fuck surrealist animal depiction, basically.
Yeah. I flash back to that moment, decades earlier, when I put my hand on the screaming baby's belly and felt Helen kick. My first reaction had been fear. I'd felt terror and revulsion at the idea that somehow a baby had been born pregnant. That something had put its seed into an embryo, produced a creature. That same terror and revulsion filled me when I saw Helen's face on the side of that monster. Years ago, I was able to put my fear aside and do my job as a doctor to deliver Helen into the world. I had to do the same thing today. I had to put my fear aside and do my job as a father. I flung the kitchen door open and shouted into the backyard.
Helen!
A pause, the new text on the tablet.
Goodbye, Dad.
I needed the conversation to keep going. I couldn't let this insane situation be the last time I saw my daughter. I yelled.
I got the paternity test results! The hair sample!
What
Was your
the?
father! I know. Who is he?
I guess this.
A man who died a long time ago.
Then she typed one last message to me.
Thank you, Dad. This is what I need to be doing now. There's only a 37.9% chance that I'll see you again. Sorry.
I looked into the yard with the camera. She was
I
gone.
So what it seems like so far, if she consciously did that decision, then it makes it seem like when she quote unquote died, she did an experiment where she was able to like go into a different dimension.
She went to hell.
Pursue. Yeah, she basically went to hell.
I think she was like an antichrist or some kind of like seed of the devil or something like that was put on earth, and then she dedicated all her times to studies, which was sciences, which was effectively the way she used it, like a modern witchcraft, a way to use technology to open a teleport to hell. Her and 12 other people, right? Those 12 other people might as well be human sacrifices, right? Or other people in her similar condition. The number 12 is interesting. That number shows up a lot in the Bible. 12 disciples, 12 tribes of Israel. So like saying she took 12 people with her is saying that like either 12 or counting her 13, she would be the, evil 13th one or whatever. 13 people around the world were either these demons, or she created a sacrifice of 12 people to open the gateway into hell.
I'm guessing it's the sacrifice is kind of where my gut was going when
probably the sacrifice, because it makes her more special as like a antichrist figure, right? Like the one and only.
Well, it seems more like the key. Like that's the key she needed to then buy in product go to hell.
Yeah. So she goes to hell, and now she's become this demon. I don't know what the 37.9% thing is. I'm sure we'll see that in a second.
But could it not just be something where she understands some kind of like anomaly? Because she was a math major before, so maybe she just understands the like probability is low, and she's like maybe like also shown like how well she's prepared for this.
Yeah, definitely could be. I don't know. We're almost. I'm excited to see. This is the last section of it.
Yeah, this is the last little section coming up here. So curious.
I'm so interested. This is so good. I began this post by saying that it wouldn't make sense unless I started at the beginning. Well, I did start at the beginning, and it probably still doesn't make any sense. I've gotten used to the idea that I'm not going to ever fully understand Helen's life, death, and whatever you call what came after.
Why am I...
Given the few fragments of information I have, any decision I make about what I should do next is going to be half-baked. But baked or not, choosing a course of action will at least feel like forward motion. If I move forward long enough, maybe I'll escape the despair that Helen left me with. There's one more thing I want to document here. If there's anyone that cares about what I've done and what I'm about to do, maybe it will help them understand my reasons. I stayed in bed for 3 or 4 days after I saw Helen, or the thing that wore her face. I got up a few times to trash the house, throw plates and glassware around, knock over furniture. Eventually, I had to clean up. The last thing I put away was the steel box that held the tablet and the camera. As I was putting the items back in the box, I discovered something at the bottom of the steel container. The notebook Helen brought home for our last Christmas together. The notebook that I said looked like it belonged to a devil worshiper. Found the page that Helen was working on during that Christmas vacation. I know she said it was math, stochastic differential equations and tensors, but it still looks satanic to me. The rest of the journal was filled with her research work. Most of the remaining 50 pages held nothing but math. Some of it looked like the satanic runes on the page with the pentagram, and some held the standard curvy integral signs and Greek letters that I remembered from my college calculus classes. Something on the last page caught my eye. A mess of computations that started 12 pages earlier ended with this line.
Selection ratio equals 0.379.
The last thing Helen wrote to me included the same number. There's only a 37.9% chance I'll see you again. I've spent the last 3 months studying those 12 pages of calculations. The main thing I've learned was that Helen was far more brilliant than I realized. Whatever problems she worked out on those last 12 pages drew from the fields of probability, statistics, game theory, population dynamics, Bayesian analysis, and non-Euclidean geometry. Oh, my heart, whenever I hear that phrase. I went over the notebook again and again. What was 37.9%? What was she calculating? As far as I can tell,
No.
She was studying some attribute of people who have died. There's nothing conclusive in her notebooks, so I have to guess. Based on data gathered in high-energy physics experts at Lawrence Livermore, Helen calculated that a 37.9% of people who die continue to experience some form of existence after death. With one exception, I don't regret anything that I've done in Helen's impossible life.
Let's do it.
I would do it all over again, from performing a cesarean section on a pregnant infant, to adopting the child I delivered, to saying goodbye to whatever it is that she became. The only regret I have is that I didn't learn her mother's name. I often think back to the day in the mall, when Helen was 8 years old. She had no idea that the girl on the other side of the food court was her mother, but Helen sensed something. Not a maternal bond or a vague sense of familiarity. Whatever 8-year-old Helen sensed in that child activated something dark inside of her. Helen said,
I want to eat her.
I think she meant it literally. 8-year-old Helen said that eating her mother might
help her get out one day.
I don't know what she thought she needed to get out of, but if helping Helen out of something she's stuck in can return me to her, then I'm going to help. I went online, went to the courthouse and dug through moldering adoption paperwork. I hired a private investigator. I dug into the past and discovered the name of the infant who was my surgical patient on that terrible and wonderful night in 1982. That baby's an adult now. I found her address, her employer, her credit history. I didn't care about HIPAA regulations, privacy agreements, or anything like that. I gathered, bought, and stole all the information I could find about the family that I adopted Helen from. The box that contained the tablet, camera, and her notebook had a return address label on it, a P.O. box in Livermore, California. Put everything I learned about Helen's mother into an envelope and sent it to that P.O. box. One more task remains. A task that has a 37.9% chance of success. I need to see my daughter again. I need to exist in a universe where she also exists. I've decided to kill myself. It wasn't an easy decision. It was based on imperfect information and guesswork about Helen's research. But death feels like forward motion. Motion towards an existence where I can be with my daughter. Posting the strange memoir is my final living act. I have no family left to say goodbye to. My close friendships withered decades ago. Perhaps the information I've written here will be useful to investigators or to people related to the woman who referred to my daughter as excess tissue. Hopefully the information I sent to the P.O. box will make its way to Helen. She will finally eat the woman who shares her.
Yeah, hold on.
Goodbye. If my daughter's calculations are correct, my plan succeeds.
Yeah.
There's a 37.9% chance I'll meet you one day.
I love how he ends his stories.
Yeah.
Always like just a nice little cherry on top.
Bitter
It's just like a
note,
little
yeah.
That one was great too. I like the religious aspect that ties in with just the science nature of it as well. Like it'd be interesting to if this was like a longer story, because once again this one was pretty tight, like pretty short, but it's very effective. Like
that hits pretty hard.
I mean, like going through it would have been nice to, you know, really live with these characters a little bit longer, because I really, in terms of like actual character building, I really enjoyed the dynamic of the dad here.
It's such a brutal place too to be like, well, my daughter's the devil, but I have to kill myself to go see her. You know, like the sort of desperation of that. It's very violent.
Yeah, the conclusion to that is so harrowing in a weird way. It's also, it's kind of like a psychotic break in a weird way. You can't tell if this guy is really rationally there, and he's kind of making conclusions about her work and all that kind of stuff. Not to say that he's wrong, but I'm just saying you can read it in a way where this man's just like, well, I'm going to kill myself and see my daughter. I can see that being, I don't know. I could also see that just being someone who's just emotionally distraught, and that's their kind of emotional reaction in response to that thing. But really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Just like this author, Peter, right?
Yeah, Peter.
Something dark.
David Peter Cross, I think. Let me look.
David Peter Cross.
Oh, the biomes still goes.
I clicked
for your mod pack
a second ago. Why am I stupid? Peter Frost David.
Peter Frost David.
Hey, Mom!
I really enjoyed.
Can you take the dog out?
To the initial idea, starting with a very absurdist hook, and then really kind
because
of
I'm doing something
in a fun way while not deviating and trying to give it too much grounded realism. Like I think the rationale isn't necessarily something that's like, it's rational in the sense of it makes sense in terms of reality, but more so it rationalizes it in the story with having characters interact and like continuously reaffirm the hook of the story. You know, like the guy basically adopting a keychain sized baby. She gets raised, and like then introducing these new kind of weird absurdist things, but never revealing its hand too much. Kind of just like it in a way, it becomes an answer to why to her abrupt, like, you know, pregnancy and delivery of this baby, but it doesn't fully say this is the answer. It kind of just dangles a carrot in front of your face and leads you down this little this trail, which is just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed both of these stories from him.
It goes really hard. What do you think that means that like Helen has to eat her mother to get out? What do you think that means?
Oh my god.
Well, there's a couple things. One, I didn't know if because the
Ooh!
whole thing she says, I saw it one day. I didn't. It's not like it's happened yet, but I've seen it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole thing is, does she have to quote unquote eat? I'm guessing either possess or kill her mother to return from hell. Is what I'm wondering. Is if that's what that means. There's a lot of, especially with biblical and demon shit. There's a lot of stuff about like devouring or consuming, you know, and I think that's always open for interpretation. So whenever she says I need to eat this person, is it an actual, you know, consuming, or is it more just like metaphorical translation of like
there
what
was
that means?
that one line they said when they went to look at the paintings where he said, what was that? Skipped all the way. I'm going to eat when I go to hell, I'm going to eat my way out through my bloodline.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like she's legitimately going to have to kill her mother is the big thing. Almost like it seems like a, I don't know, like.
It's like her soul is some ancient demon that's existed in hell for generations that's mad and found a way out. And now it's finding a way to like take revenge on like its bloodline, the people who made it exist, the demons of hell that made it exist, you know?
Yeah. And I don't know.
Maybe a demon that
there's a lot of ways to think
the
about
devil
it.
Even or something like that. Like you could take it so many different directions.
Yeah, there's so many ways to hypothesize what is happening in this story. Because there's a lot of things too where it's like, well, you were already out and living in the world, so where exactly, like going to hell and finding your true form and then rekindling into the world, is it something that's supposed to be a sign of the end times or something? Is it somebody bringing hell with them? You know, it just there's a lot of different ways, like you said, that I think you can interpret this. But once again, as always, which I don't know if people feel the same way, I think I just really love don't reveal your full hand. Like this is the funnest part of these stories, is being able to talk with your buddies about it and being able to speculate on it. Because the whole thing is you could read this again in the future and you take it a completely different way. And I think that's just such a powerful thing with these stories. And it doesn't feel like a cop out either. Like I think that the story has a definitive enough end to where there's a finite end to this character, but the results of those things are different. But I don't think I need to necessarily know the results, more so the closure of our main character, the dad. So thought it was very interesting, and I think it's a great way to round out the episode.
It is. I'll say one more time, check out, we'll link it in the description. On Amazon, you can get paperback or Kindle. Second Death, Do Not Speak the Names of the Dead, Do Not Pray is the full title of it, by Peter Frost David.
Brutal.
It seems to somehow link together the story we just read about the daughter, as well as the Glenmont Metro story. Because there's another story, a 3-parter called My Patient has spent 8 million years under a bench in the Glenmont Metro. That story seems to combine the elements from both, and then the Second Death is like a full novel about it.
Interesting.
So check out the Second Death if you're interested in seeing this story continue further. We certainly enjoyed it, and he seems to be a great author, so show some love.
Yeah, no, seriously, go pick up a book, give the guy some love. Be sure to get a physical copy of these books as well. You never know what might happen where these things just disappear one day, so I am always an adamant. I always recommend getting physical copies of anything that we read if you enjoy it. You just never know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also, thank you for everyone who's listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts right now and has rated the podcast with a nice rating, I guess, whatever. But thank you. The audio side of the things help us a lot. And this year has been an insane year of growth and just the community coming together. The amount of memes and like fun and camaraderie has been so explosive and so awesome. And just so looking forward to next year and what we can do with reading stories and just introducing more stories and more authors to our audience. And just wanted to say thank you as well. It's been awesome. So thank you.
Thank you all very much for everything. It means the world. This year has been incredible, and I'm excited to just keep on keeping on, right? But thank you all for the blessing. It means the world.
You all have a good rest of your day. We will catch you in the next one.
See you all later in the next one, and be sure to not go to hell. So we're going to go get that. But first, for this story,
Oh,
would you like to?
I forgot to mention we have a little special guest tonight. Coming in to help us read this very funny story is someone who makes good work. Dare I say,
work.
admirable work. He's from this area, you know. Have you guys seen the movie Hereditary or Midsommar? Right? If you don't know him, his name's Ari Aster. And he's here to read Laughing Jack with us tonight. Give him a round of applause. That's not happening. I think
Welcome back to Creepcast. Today we are diving into another cosmic horror phenomenon known as the only other astronaut on this mission died 6 weeks ago, but the computer insists there's life. Oh my God! But the computer insists their life still. Ah! Fuck! The only other astronaut. No, just wait. Wait. The only other astronaut on this mission died 6 weeks ago, but the computer insists their life signs are still stable. Got it! First try. And this is an author we've read before.
What's funny is people are going to start thinking you're doing that on purpose.
I cannot read. I'm dumb. I am a fucking moron, okay? That's why do you think I only do the voices, okay? If I had to read this, can you imagine if I had to read the whole thing? It would not work. Would not work. Now, this is by Christian Wallace.
That's why you need me. Don't forget that.
That's true.
By the way. So yes, the story's by Christian Wallace. So we actually we have a list in like our Discord of like stories you all recommend that we just kind of keep tally of. And then before we record an episode, we just go through and like say like this is a good one. So this title sounded interesting and it was highly rated. And then after we go to check it out, sure enough, Christian Wallace is the author of the My Wife Has Taken Our Roleplay Too Far and My Husband Has Taken Our Roleplay Too Far, which were some pretty good stories I'm a big fan of that we read on the channel.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool. Very unique, very creative, interesting body horror. So now, coincidentally, we've come across another one of this guy's work. So Christian Wallace is a fantastic author. You can check out a bunch of his stories. He has his own website, Christian Wallace. It's chwallace.co.uk. He's British, but don't hold that against him.
Also, just want to say the guy seems like a complete sweetheart. His bio on his Reddit is pretty much him just basically being like, yeah, feel free to narrate my stuff. Just be sure to get permission. And, you know, if you want writing advice or writing help, just hit me up. He seems like a complete and total sweetheart. So I'm excited to do it. And also I'm excited to read this one too, because we do not dive into cosmic horror enough. Not enough.
We do not. I agree.
Especially with stuff that's like, I'm obviously guessing that this is centered in space. So, you know, we've had stuff that's like landed on Earth, or, you know, cosmic things that have come down to Earth, but to have it actually be about a spaceman.
Holy moly, it's bees!
I agree. I'm trying to see if he has any published works right now. I know he has some like audio readings and stuff like that.
I think a lot of his work here is or a lot of the short stories here are published. Or at least on his.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. He has some horror stories published through Velix Books. One of them that it looks like came out last month or a couple of months ago is a story or is a book called With Teeth. Which seems to be about a temple under the Arctic ice.
I like that.
That's one of the short stories in there. Oh, it's a publication of short stories. I see. Because if you go to his website and look through a lot of his stories, he has a ton of stuff that has to do with like Arctic expeditions and stuff like that. He's posted to No Sleep.
Arctic
I'm going to lose my mind.
Expeditions. How fun. just for like a like a setup for a horror thing. Also, who would want to do that in their real life? Why do that now?
Absolutely not.
You know,
I mean, like I get it when it was old. It was pretty cool when it was old. But
only
no,
freaks do it now.
I'll pass. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But with teeth looks pretty cool. And it looks like it has 4.5 stars on Amazon, which is pretty solid. So you can get a Kindle version, get hardcover, paperback, all that stuff. So if you like the roleplay story and like this one, be sure to check out his work with teeth on Amazon. Show him some love.
Oh, also, I want to start this off too by saying, just to get a general consensus of what people think about. I sent Isaiah this message.
No, please.
Before
you don't need to do that.
I sent Isaiah this message, and he said, "Hey, are you good to record now, or when are you good to record?" And I said, "I'm golden right meow," which I thought was really cute because instead of now, I put meow. And now he's been giving me shit because I sent him a voice memo, kind of explaining that joke. And I was just saying, do you want to play it over your phone, Isaiah?
Instead of right now, I put right meow, like a
Hey,
cat.
over there.
Meow, 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 meow. I'm purring because I'm happy. Meow, meow, meow. I'm a good little pussy. Instead of right now,
I thought that I just thought that was a fine. I don't know. I guess when you send your friend something, it's met with such an abrasive reaction. I just thought it was I don't know. I guess am I the bad guy for sending that message? I guess is what I want to know out of our audience here. But without further ado, I'm ready to dive in and hear about this spooky astronaut.
Fairies everywhere. Why is there always going to be fairies everywhere?
Be sure to keep liking and supporting us on Spotify.
Oh, true. True. See, now you're being a cute little kitty. Now you're being a good little kitty by saying that because also be sure to check us out on Spotify. Give us a rating there. Helps us out. Also check us out on Apple Podcasts. Check us out there, audio listeners. You know what? If this is your first time listening to us or if you've listened to us before, maybe take this one solo and go listen to it in the audio in your car, right, on Spotify and rank us there because it helps us. Thank you guys so much. All right, my cute little whiskers, go ahead and start us off.
The only other astronaut on this mission died 6 weeks ago, but the computer insists their life signs are still stable. When Ben died, he made very little noise.
When Ben drowned.
It was
when Ben drowned.
I can't even do the Goldblum thing right now.
Why? What's wrong? A story can't start with when Ben died without us thinking of when Ben drowned.
It's just everything. It's just so much at once. It's you. Well, I was on the phone earlier talking about entertainment lawyers for like a copyright strike thing on the channel, and then my good pal and business partner Hunter responded, "Let me hear what he has to say."
Right,
and then it is something that I'm not built for. It's a lot at once. And yeah,
it's haunting. It's haunting and eerie how similar that sounds to the conversation my mom had before she left my father. Go ahead.
If I could divorce you, I would have done so.
No, you wouldn't.
But I'm stuck here.
This love is too good, isn't it? You can't walk away.
It's too good. Too many people watch this show. Mm-hmm. There's too much money in it at this point.
Give mama a kiss. Come on.
There's too much. There's too many advertisers and there's too many employees tied to it. I can't get out.
Come on.
I'm stuck here.
Give me some sugar now.
What if I did it? What?
Well, you would upset a lot of. There'd be a pen of kittens very sad right now.
I'd be free. I could be out of here. It would be over.
You know what? Then just go ahead and do it then, dude. If it's that bad, then do it.
Okay. You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Okay. The astronauts are dead. An astronaut is dead now. Okay.
Okay.
The only other astronaut's dead, 6 weeks ago. When Ben died, he made very little noise. It was the computers that alerted me. Shrill alarms and flashing lights. I hadn't even got it out of my sleeping bag before my smartwatch had lit up with half a dozen messages about system failures.
Astronaut 1, heart rate monitor failure. Astronaut 1, skin conductance monitor failure. Astronaut 1, V0.
Until I was shaking an unresponsive Ben. White eyes rolling back into his skull, blood pooling in his ears like red jelly. Viscosity, mass, no gravity. It made me nauseous to look at. HQ would later say Ben died from an aneurysm. 1 in a million. A freak death that just happened to occur in low Earth orbit. So what now? I asked her after all the panic had died down and the reality of my situation finally settled in. HQ sent me a rarely used or discussed document that outlined what I'd have to do. Bodies pose a unique threat in microgravity. Explained. All that order becomes disordered. What is solid turns to liquid. What is liquid turns to gas. First thing I needed to do was to put Ben's body somewhere that had no oxygen and was freezing cold. Somewhere he would pose no danger to himself or me. Isolated, but easily retrievable. The conclusion was obvious. I knew what they'd suggest before I even reached that part of the booklet. It happened so fast that Ben was still warm when I put him in the special bag designed to endure the vacuum of space. I kept expecting him to protest as I pulled at stiffening limbs and manipulated swelling joints. Every step of the process, every zip, every bit of Velcro, I had to remind myself he wasn't going to complain. It felt intimate, but it wasn't. Intimacy requires 2 people. By that point, Ben was just meat.
I don't know if I agree with that last line, by the way.
This author, wait, what line don't you agree with?
Intimacy requires 2 people. I've been very intimate.
That's what
with
I
myself
was.
before.
That's the part I was afraid you were going to agree with.
Come on, man.
Don't say that on the podcast.
Come on, dude. You know what's actually funny? To tie that in, if intimate with yourself, right? I just
you say the craziest things and just diverge. Go ahead. Whatever.
I just want to say that I saw everybody in their life has a human cryptid. It's true. And mine, his name was Mr. Floppy. And the reason that is because I know very well that a man can be intimate with himself is because I remember one time at a sleepover, we sat there and a kid excused himself. He said, I feel sick. I'm going to go to sleep. Like, all right, who gives a shit? We're playing MLB The Show on PS2. Great game. Go upstairs, and before we know it, we hear him like giggling in the room, and we hear like we're like, that's disgusting. We know what he's doing. But when we heard what he was talking to himself in the room, Isaiah, and he was saying, it's so floppy. So floppy. Like he was flopping it back and forth, and we never said anything about it, but we made an inside joke, and we called him Mr. Floppy for the rest of our lives. And I ran into him at the grocery store the other day.
If I do it, I'm killing you first.
Why? What? Do you not have your own cryptid kind of character in your life?
It would be cruel to push this onto someone else, I've decided.
Okay, man. Come on. You tell me you don't think that the Mr. Also, we were young. Mr. Floppy, that boy, I don't know what was going on, but there were some noises being made. It was disturbing, right? So floppy. I saw him.
What are you even talking about?
What do you mean? What am I talking about?
I'm like, my ears are ringing right now. I'm starting to sweat. I'm getting like.
And I'll tell you what was the most disturbing part about it is that he had pistachio muffins in his cart.
No, he didn't.
Who wants that?
No, you know what? At this point, no, he didn't. I don't know what you're talking about.
So I said,
"There's no way."
I said, "Derek, it's nice to see you." He's like, "Oh my God, it's been so long." And I knew that he was just packing some heat in his pants, so I didn't get too close. But I saw that he had 4 trays of pistachio muffins. And that, to me, that was like a new thing and more lore. If you eat a lot of pistachios, maybe it makes you well endowed. That motherfucker had pistachio muffins out the woo-ha.
What do you think listeners' response to things like this is? Do you think they hear this and they're like, "Wow, that's That's so.
You know
I
what, man?
believe him
Sorry that I'm
100%.
just trying to tell you bits of my life, of things that going on. I thought that,
For one,
it pertained to what we had
you
here.
absolutely should be. To be fair, how does this pertain to what we're talking about? How does this in any way
Intimacy requires
pertain to
two people.
astronauts?
Intimacy requires two people. I said I disagree. I know that people can
I
be
know
very
you're
intimate with
talking about
themselves.
a guy in a store with the pistachio muffins.
Mr.
What is
Floppy!
the connection?
Mr. Floppy.
What does that have to do with an astronaut?
It has nothing to do with the astronaut, but has to do with the intimacy with two people. Mr. Floppy was very intimate with himself. That's all I had to say. And I was going to say that the rest of it was very well written, and that I love the visual of the swollen joints and having to put somebody basically into a giant goddamn Ziploc bag. But then I couldn't get past the Mr. Floppy. I thought it pertained. I'm sorry if it didn't. I apologize if it doesn't.
Maybe I can say like the right combination of words to get the podcast taken off of YouTube, and then maybe that would be enough to get me out of the
Why is this?
obligations.
There's so much.
I bet
Oh my
people
God, there's
are
so
commenting
much.
right now.
There's so
I actually thought that you would be somewhat intrigued by what I had to say, but I'll keep it to myself.
I'm gonna drop words you haven't heard
Ugh.
of before, if it gets me out of this.
God. Some
Just
kind
every
of
syllable.
Lovecraftian dialect of something I've never heard before.
every language, every
if
pronunciation.
If Cthulhu said hate speech, that's what it would sound like.
Yeah, they're gonna have to make a new word for what I'm gonna do. Keep this up.
Yeah.
God, I'll hit everyone. I won't take any prisoners.
All right. Well, we
It
got
will
to get
be
back on
kill
track.
shots across the board.
What do you think of the idea of having to pack somebody up and put them out in space?
I think what I was going to say about that paragraph is I love the way that Christian, because he did the same thing with the like descriptors in the role play stories,
Right.
where he takes these concepts no one can relate to, like a adult man reverting to a baby's form, or here talking about like someone dying in space, how the blood congeals, but he describes it so well and so thoroughly it feels like you're there. Like I was imagining like the stiffening joints being shoved into a Ziploc bag of like the spacesuit and stuff. Like he does so well at relating these impossible scenarios.
Well, it's funny that you say that too, because I thought to myself, you know what the bag made me think of was on like a canoe. You know, like whenever you're going into like you're floating with your buddies, whatever, and you have a trash bag, and usually what will happen is you have like a net trash bag. You put your cans in or whatever, and it kind of floats with you to the side. I was like, God, he's describing it the same way, like a float trip almost. Like it felt that relatable to like a float trip, even though it's in the vacuums of space. I kind of immediately am now picturing this body just floating on a spacecraft idly, the same way that like this trash net would float in water.
Yeah. And I imagine what they're going to do, unless he's just pushing him out into space, is they're kind of going to, in a similar way, like tow the body.
That's what I thought it was going to be. Yeah. Is that tow it? Because then you don't want to just, you obviously want to bring
leave
back
the body in space.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like they have to leave it behind, kind of like a trash bag, like you said. Yeah.
Also, the way that he's kind of disassociating him, like at the end, he says Ben was just meat. I think that he's doing that just from the act, but I think that there's still obviously emotional tie-in with their relationship, so
yeah, I mean, kind of the way he phrases, it felt intimate, but it wasn't.
Right.
So it's kind of like him justifying, like, I can't assign more weight to this situation than it is because he's just meat now. You know? Like a cope with it almost. The spacewalk itself was something else. The bag that surrounded Ben's body inflated in the vacuum, and I instinctively felt the urge to undo what I'd done. There was a body in there, and bodies aren't meant to have so little between them and outer space. When I touched the bag, I could still feel him beneath the paper-thin material. The crease of an elbow, the bump on his nose. By the time I reached my destination, his body already felt brittle. Attaching him to the station was easy enough on a technical level. Leaving him there went against every instinct I had. After that, there was no pretending he was coming back. A day later, and I began to pack his things away. There was a catharsis in it that I found calming. I cataloged his belongings with thin detachment. Most of his things were dry and uninteresting. Photos of him with the dog, a copy of a Michael Shea book, a certificate of excellence from NASA that he received when he was 10. He discovered a comet, he told me during our first meeting. Backyard with the telescope. NASA let him name it and everything. That was how he knew he wanted to be an astronaut. Described it as a calling. Ben was like that, a real-life Boy Scout. In life, he'd had no edges.
Because Boy Scouts.
You'd think, given our history, we'd be close. 2 men selected based on extensive psychological profiling. Together, we had simulated multiple missions to Mars. 2 on the ground, 1 in space. All of them highly secretive. An official mission to Mars was meant to be next, at which point the whole project would be made public. But the key to having 2 people work together, alone, for nearly an entire year isn't to find 2 guys who are best friends forever. It's finding people who won't grate on one another. Neither hate nor love. 2 men who enjoy their own company, but don't mind one another. Ben and I had become acquainted over all that time together, but it wasn't like we were brothers in arms. Oh, sorry, I have to go get my package 1 sec.
Man, Isaiah's gone. Now, I get to finally say my true piece. What if Ben's in the bag right now flopping it around? What if Ben's sitting there and he's saying, it's so floppy in the bag? And our hero here has to look out the cockpit window and see what he thought was his rigor mortis friend flopping it around in a bag in the vacuums of space. Would you go out? Would you go out and would you help this man, or is it his own fault? Would he just be flopping it forever by himself?
Apologies for killing the vibe.
No problem.
Ben and I had become acquainted over all that time together, but it wasn't like we were brothers in arms. We worked so well precisely because there was no meat to the friendship. No stakes. Nothing to argue over. To me, Ben was a nice guy, but that was all. I figured he was plain and simple all the way down. No dark secrets. No real problems to speak of. The journal changed that. So I'm like, the way he's describing everything with Ben and like the stuff about when he was a kid, he discovered a comet, like humanizing him. And now like there's a dissonance between them and stuff. But I just like the way the author sets up his characters.
Yeah, he's really good about making you give a fuck about him. You know, they immediately have personalities that you can like attach yourself to. And a lot of times the stories that we do, everything's so vague, you know. And it's nice to have a change of pace where there's actual, I don't know, relationships building. You kind of get an idea even who who our storyteller is here. Somebody who maybe, you know, gave us a mission, kind of like obviously gave a fuck about this guy that was next to him, even if maybe he didn't reciprocate it as much, you know.
Yeah, there's like a real feel to the people involved.
Right.
Can I tell you a secret? I'm in desperate need of medical attention and care. I'm so old, fat, I'm falling apart at the seams. But I don't know what doctor to use. I don't know anything about doctors. And that's why I use ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-depth /creepcast.
It was taped to the inside of a panel of a computer at his workstation. He must have hidden it close to his things, somewhere out of sight but easily retrievable. Frayed leaves and yellowed pages,
Hello,
like some
Dolly.
ancient artifact.
Why is it
Last
bleeding?
thing I expected
I
to
don't
find
like
in a
that it
space
can
station.
bleed.
I almost mistook its leather cover for some sort of personal Bible, sort of well-worn tome held up by a preacher making exclamations about the devil. But its insides were handwritten, hardly in keeping with the Bible. Scribbles, shapes, phrases repeated and dissected. Some of it was even in binary. It seemed like the ravings of a child or a lunatic. I thought it was maybe a mindfulness exercise, empty-headed doodling to help him get his head straight during stressful moments. That didn't explain why he'd hidden it, why the numbers and pages seemed strangely organized. I don't know how to describe it exactly, except to say that there was the vague impression that it meant something to the person who'd made it. Every last gram on a shuttle is accounted for. What you bring up with you can't be some random crap you want last minute. Ben would have had to clear the journal. I'm assuming he kept the content secret. One look at what he'd been writing, and NASA would have had him in psych eval before the end of the day. But the book's size and weight would have to be logged and accounted for. It could not have gotten on the station by accident, so I knew immediately that Ben had wanted it for something. I studied it for over an hour trying to figure out what that was. Flicking from one page to the next, glaring at rows of numbers, strange fractals, something that looked like a cross between an eye and a textbook drawing of an atom. Given the way his writing and art skills developed throughout the book, I began to suspect he'd been adding to it since his childhood, which was just another layer to the growing mystery.
Love that.
That's great. That's so cool.
Little
fractals and
cosmic
charts
boy
and
is
stuff.
writing a cosmic horror. Well, you know what it makes you think of is that potentially the comet he saw interlinked with that somehow. Like almost as soon as he saw that, he started getting signs or visions or something.
Yep. That's what my mind went to as well, that when he was a kid, he found something, saw something in the stars that like started to speak to him. That's why now he's in this place.
I love those setups. I love the setup of like a passing object or a fleeting moment leads to like a lifetime of like visions or seeing something. I love
like he was
setup.
inducted into an order or religion at a young age.
Yeah, enlightened in some kind of way. It's always kind of fun. Like a lot of fun flavor with that.
Yeah, I'm in. He's got me hooked so far. I thought I was never going to get any insight in the book until about 3/4 of the way through, I came across yet another page filled with rows and rows of numbers. Only this time, one of the strings was underlined and a single word had been scratched, ragged, and angry next to it. The only bit of English, or any human language, in all those pages. The only thing written in a way that could make sense to a living human. The word itself made me stop dead in my tracks. Made my blood run cold. 170318042636. Aneurysm. Oh, that's sick.
Do you think it's supposed to be like coordinates or something? It almost seems like it's a part of this plan, this divine plan that he's writing down.
It's either coordinates or there is some kind of like long form writing that was delivered to him, there was some kind of long form writing that was a code to say he would die of an aneurysm. It's almost like it was like his cause of death was predetermined by himself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like he's
What?
this orchestrated, basically like
no.
journal
Have you all
of like what's supposed to happen. You know, like star dating shit and everything. An astrological plan almost.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's so cool.
Oh. I
told myself I had to be nuts when I that I had to be crazy to even entertain the notion. But the information recorded by several different machines confirmed it. Ben's exact time of death was the 17th of March, 2018, 4:26 hours and 36 seconds. Oh, man. I don't think I moved for a good 15 minutes after that. Just stared at the data as my mind worked its way around a giant, impossible realization. Ben knew he was going to die. Oh, that's fun. Okay, so down to the second, he had his death known.
Yeah.
But cause, what would happen, all of that.
Which the creepy thing here obviously leads to me is that he knew, instead of being in the comfort of his bed at home, he knew that he was supposed to be on a space shuttle heading towards Mars.
He was supposed to be there for some reason.
Right.
Of course, I try to rationalize this. Anyone would. I came up with half a dozen reasons he'd written what he'd written. None of them were comforting, although they at least fit in with a more rational worldview. Take, for example, the idea that Ben had killed himself at that exact moment in time to meet some sort of prophecy he scrawled days or even hours before. Was that a good thing? What did it mean for me? Ignore the logistical issues of like what that poison can be timed to the second. Let's just say that's what he did. That left the hair-raising question of why? And there's no comfortable answer that I could see. Of course, I went through that book with a fine-tooth comb looking for any more clues. I wish I hadn't. I eventually found another word, this one closer to the very end of the journal. Another date and timestamp, one that lay 6 weeks in the future, and another word scratched painfully into the paper by a clumsy fist. Immolation. Yo. Bro, that would be terrifying.
Terrifying too. Space station shit always scares me because one, you cannot go anywhere. You can't even go outside to take a fucking breather. You know, you're just stuck with your thoughts. And I love the idea that like astronauts and spacemen and women, whatever, would go mad is so believable that you would just go fucking crazy. You're like, I have no other option. I'm going to go insane.
I like the idea too of like, yeah, you've seen Interstellar, right?
Yeah.
You remember that scene where Matt Damon gets like sucked out of the ship and just like dies with like it literally goes quiet because space doesn't carry sound.
Yeah. Is that Matt Damon? Was Matt Damon in Interstellar?
Yeah, that's Matt Damon. The guy who stole the ship from him and then like did the docking process wrong, so he got ripped out of the ship.
Oh, yeah.
That I think about that with space all the time. It's like everything that happens up there is completely unforgiving. And like you just die without a sound, right? Everything with space terrifies me in that way. So immolation, it's like, yeah, there'll be a fire on board the ship and you can do absolutely nothing because it's not like you can leave the ship, right?
Have fun.
Good luck. Yeah. Have fun dying.
Yeah, Ben out.
Permission denied.
I bit my lip and took a deep breath. What about the station's integrity? I asked.
No sign of any issue from external cameras.
They replied. I can hear something banging on the hull, I told them.
Nothing is visible on the cameras.
That's why I need to go take a look. It's hard to argue with the computer. You can't shoot at a death glare. HQ could have easily arranged video calls, but really they wanted the distance. Made it easier to say no.
So the spacewalk is incredibly dangerous.
They quickly wrote back.
Microphones in station hull are reporting nothing of concern. Usual impact from debris. Nothing that corroborates reports of external tapping. Permission for spacewalk is denied.
I made no further responses, but instead closed the screen and wondered if they were being entirely truthful. The tapping sound, coming and going over the last few days, was unmistakable even over all those whirring machines and monitors. All those whirring machines and motors. Space stations are loud. They even give us earplugs to handle it. But whatever was out there was somehow louder. Or perhaps, given the circumstances, I was just sensitive to the thought of something, anything, out there. There's no denying it annoyed me. Just one of those sounds I found impossible to block out, like water dripping in a bathtub at 3 a.m. Tap, 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 tap. No sense of order, not even on the surface level, but something, maybe, underneath, some sense or reason, some kind of regularity the brain detects and can't let go of. How could the microphones possibly miss it? Sleep was getting progressively difficult. At times I thought the station under some kind of hidden stress, materials freezing and warming in irregular ways. No atmosphere, no conduction of heat. Things get hot in the sun's rays, objects warm and cool to both extremes. This is routine stuff for anything up in space, of course, but it didn't stop me thinking about all the ways that the station was just a pile of metal that could come undone, could break and tear, bend and stretch. Like watching the wing of your plane wobble during turbulence, it's an uncomfortable reminder that you're just a monkey in a fancy toy. And what if something had come loose? Something. Oh, at first I stuck to this notion strictly, asking myself, what if some antenna or strap or bit of metal had gotten loose and was banging against the hull? That would be bad. But of course, that wasn't really what I was thinking. It's what I wrote to HQ about over and over and over. What was really on my mind was the thought that maybe, somehow, he had gotten loose. And of course, that's not so silly, right? The specially designed bag he was in, the one that would vent any gases produced by decomposition while maintaining his body's integrity, was brand spanking new. Know how many times it had ever been tested? Never. Never ever. Ben was the first. So of course it might come loose. Just because it's space-age technology doesn't mean it's sophisticated. He was strapped to the outside like a Christmas tree to the family sedan. Maybe, I wondered, one of the straps had broken. Now he was thumping against the side every now and again. Never mind that there wasn't anything out there to prompt that kind of buffeting. No air, no wind. If he'd come loose, he'd just float a little farther away. Something was making that noise, and I worried almost constantly that it was him. Man, this is so fun.
Yeah, I love the idea of a guy kind of slipping into insanity and thinking that this dead person outside is like banging to come back inside. Doom, 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 doom.
Tap, tap, let me in. It's so fun. It's like there's a story that reminds me. You remember like at the end of The Monkey's Paw, how their son who died in the factory.
Oh yeah, knocks on the door.
He comes to the door and he's like, "Don't knock, knock." That's what it reminds me of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they won't look. They never look outside in the story. They just beg for it to be over. But you can hear the knocking. You can hear him calling. Yeah.
Yeah, they know that it's him.
Yeah. Only problem was I had cameras. Lots. And all of them, every single time, showed the same thing. The bag, barely changed from when I last saw it in person, strapped firmly and securely to the station's hull. Should have reassured me. Should have, but it didn't. Something was out there, tapping on the hull. On and off. No pattern. No reason. No correlation. It came and it went, seemingly choosing its moments to bother me the most. Sleep was difficult for multiple reasons. The tapping was bad enough, but lately my nightmares had taken a strange turn. Black, cold. In them, I was trapped in a suffocating film. Freezing cold. Non-stop agony, fighting furiously to free myself, was this black void of a nightmare.
I love that imagery. I love that imagery of him feeling trapped inside of the same bag he put Ben in, but this time it's like a thinner film and it's just like this disgustingly cold, freezing. I just love that.
The same way the body's left, right? Freezing out there
absolutely.
in the cold
And
of
it's
space,
a thin paper material, he said, which I'm guessing it's like that weird. I'm guessing it's like that space material. It looks like aluminum foil is what I had pictured, right?
Yeah, it's a space blanket.
But then when he says I was trapped in a suffocating film, it makes me think almost of Fire in the Sky. Whenever like he gets abducted by the alien and it's like stretched over.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me think
and
of
he
that.
He's inside like the skin.
Yeah.
The skin sheath or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like all deeply terrible dreams, it colored my thoughts for the rest of the day. And each time I had it, it got harder to shake. I tried to endure, compartmentalize, take my mental turmoil, put it in a box, right unhinged across the lid, and sit rocking back and forth waiting for my rescue. And that was option, a good one. There's one little word that stopped me going the route of hunkering down and ignoring my own madness. Immolation. When HQ told me the date of the shuttle would reach me, I spent quite a bit of time wondering if this wasn't just some big experiment. The sheer coincidence of it all. The magnitude of it. They sent me the message and the subject line had 3 exclamation points, like the communications officer on the other side couldn't wait to deliver good news for once. Let their professionalism slip. They'd finally arranged a shuttle to retrieve me after it was done dropping some guys off at the ISS. It was lucky it had come so soon. Stroke of logistical genius allowed me to sneak Ben and me back without it being too conspicuous. I should be very thankful, they told me. But I was just stunned. The date matched the one Ben had written out. Factoring in travel time, I'd be entering Earth's atmosphere at the exact time the prophesied moment would come and go. Ripe for an error, a misplaced heat pad, a mistimed thruster, something, anything, to go wrong and leave me plunging to my death in a burning metal tube. Ripe for immolation. If it wasn't Ben out there tapping away, I wanted to know. I needed to know. I was a rational man, a skeptic. I did not believe the natural world would produce a man that could predict his death down to the minute or the second. Nor did I believe he could predict mine. But I'm only an animal. I am made of meat, vulnerable, a raw nerve in a world of jagged rocks. And I am risk-averse. That word, immolation. Not random, not chance. Up in the void, surrounded by pure oxygen, fire was a constant risk. Ben's little numbers loomed large in my mind. I had to make sure everything was in place. Had to make sure there were no errors. If it was a prediction, which I refused to accept at face value, then maybe I could take heart from it. What could Ben do in the face of an aneurysm? Nothing. But immolation, fire, an accident? That sort of thing could be avoided. just so long as everything was in working order, just so long as everything was where it was meant to be. What did HQ know? Cameras and remote operators, not enough. No one else was in that tin can except me. Why even have humans in space if you wouldn't trust their instincts and judgments? I needed to know what was making that noise. I needed to get out there. HQ caught on too late. I was inside the suit, the airlock cycling by the time they realized. I chose my timing well. Halfway through my maintenance shift. Told them I was taking a look at the suit, make sure everything was in order. Meant they were slow to catch on to what I was doing. Technically, they could stop the process at any stage. They could do anything from their side. But I threatened to force a manual override that would shut them out from that part of the system. They told me they'd court-martial on return, but that was a piss-weak threat. For me, the stakes were higher than a court-martial. In the end, they backed down. Know how hard it is to build a space station in secret? It came first. If the spacewalk went wrong and I died, the station would still be there. Billion-dollar asset awaiting the next top-secret mission. It was my neck on the line, not theirs. I accepted it. Under time pressure, HQ accepted it too. By the time the door finally opened and I was able to gently guide myself out and around the rim so that I was clinging onto the station's exterior, it already tapped into the cameras and were guiding me along to my destination. But it was background noise to me at that point. Their voices and little pings. Constant readouts of suit temperatures and the distance to the station hull. Meaningless, all of it. What mattered was the sound. Tap, tap, tap.
How much of this do you think is in his head? Like, do you think that the tap 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 is real, or do you think that it's kind of
I had that thought. I have a prediction for where the story's going, and I don't necessarily want to call it out, but if I had to guess, his own actions may cause his death. So I think there is some supernatural element happening because he did call out his own aneurysm down to the minute, right?
Right.
But I feel like the paranoia that this thing is ensuing in him might be what causes an immolation.
I mean, the beats of this story are so reminiscent of The Raven. You know, you have Nevermore. You have the tapping on the chamber door kind of thing, like the Raven being that thing. But now instead of a raven, it's this body floating out in space. You know, the similarities are just pretty cool.
It makes it feel like there's an inevitable represented by Ben's body a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that inevitable is going to be like self-fulfilling. Like he's going to walk himself into it. That's where I see this going.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm not fully bought in that Ben is alive and tapping. I think that it's we're kind of getting into a space of this man is going to drive himself crazy. But the prophecy is still true. Like the supernatural element of this guy dying at a certain time, immolation brought on by himself.
Mm-hmm. I think that's where this is going. Yeah, I agree. I was anxious by this point. Or perhaps, if I'm honest, scared. Space is all extremes. Not just heat, but light too. Shadows cast are vast and strange. You move in and out of the Earth's shadow like it's a hand in front of a projector. And the ones cast by yourself and your surroundings are a special kind of black. The station, its myriad of pipes and cables, was covered in an abyssal shadows. Long, warped things with ambiguous origins. Sometimes I looked at the darkness and wondered if there was anything there at all, or if the station was simply bisected by some kind of strange cosmic force. Like I might fall into it, somehow. Forever lost. Normally I'd think it was beautiful. Spacewalks had, for me, in the past, been an almost religious experience. It's carried the same sense of weight, but for very different reasons. I felt watched. Something I tried to ignore, but it got harder and harder. Kept looking over my shoulder. Kept overthinking every little bump and vibration I felt on the station's hull. By the time I reached the place where I had strapped Ben's body, I was close to having a panic attack. That whole part of the station was covered in darkness, the kind where I couldn't see a damn thing. It was only HQ's voice telling me I'd reached my destination that let me know Ben was lying just a few feet from me. Under their direction, I found him, and when my light fell upon the bag itself, I saw the
Can you take her out, please?
With ice. Touching it, I felt Ben's frozen body inside, hard as a rock. Gave him a nudge, and he didn't move an inch. The straps holding him in place were still there, firm as ever.
details could be causing the
Yes, I am! I'm filming a YouTube video!
The voice on the other end sounded reticent, but that had been the default since Ben died. HQ always sounded like they were holding something back.
What's that? We're not 100% certain how corpses would respond to the changing temperatures and vacuum. Obviously, parts of the body will freeze and expand, and fluids in particular. Right now, the bag has a lot of surface contact with metallic hull. One theory is that the blood may be freezing and sublimating as the surface beneath changes temperature.
I looked at the bag and grimaced.
How much blood exactly? We cannot possibly say for certain how much would have left the body. Only that the bag's job is to contain it until return. We were able to confirm using instruments in the station that the panel you are standing on is well below freezing. Everything should be in manageable state, so to speak. Solid, likely one large clump.
They replied, and then after a moment they added,
You wanted this. It would be a waste of resources now that you're out here not to investigate further. You'll need to look inside.
Thank you all!
He's gonna look in the bag and blood just gonna be like,
I think what they're saying is like all the blood and like decomposition fluids and stuff
are just floating around
freeze
there.
and they like freeze and melt like at random as the hull changes with the sun.
Yeah, like so since they're in the darkness, it freezes back up, but then when it's in the sun, it heats up and it liquefies again.
Yeah, so he's like a blob.
Yeah, I mean just
effectively.
a blob of gunk.
Yeah, like that's. I wouldn't want to look
Athena, outside!
Hold on one second. Another package is here. In fact, I'll be right back. I apologize.
You're all good. Then again, maybe Ben's flopping it. Space Station never said that was our question, right? What if Ben's in there right now flopping around? He likes it when the narrator touches him. Flop, flop, flop. Can easily translate to tap, tap, tap. How do we know that Ben's not in there right now? A mass of bone and gunk. Grabbing his big old dick and flopping it around. Inside of a space blanket cocoon. Would there be a better place to flop it? You tell me. I'm still fully believing that Ben is flopping it around right now. Grabbing it at the base, flopping the top. A well-endowed man, taken too soon. Prophecy knew that it would happen, yet still here he lays, flopping it from side to side. Grabbing the base, probably one peeky around a ball. Flop, flop, flop. Or as the story would suggest, tap, tap, tap.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
Of course, I'd wanted this, hadn't I? To satisfy my morbid curiosity, to address the rabid thoughts in my mind that had kept me awake, filling what little sleep I had.
Did she go out?
Now that I was at the threshold, I
Little
found
rat.
myself so afraid that even moving my hand took a kind of effort. Yet I had no choice. I had to see this through.
I'm gonna end in the video soon.
With a specially designed zipper. No
So I'm as well.
Click, click, click of the
Stop,
special
no,
zipper
take her
opening.
out, take a shower.
It's stupid, but as I unfurled the flap, I could have sworn a terrible stench passed over me. Lasted no more than a few seconds, but was so vivid I turned and snapped my eyes shut as they watered. Power of suggestion, I told myself as I reopened them. That was all. Nothing more. No air, no sound, no smell. Took a few deep breaths, tried not to let the incident unsettle me further, and looked inside the bag. Multiple people watching my video feed gasped when I made a fairly unflattering noise somewhere between a moan and a cry. I'd expected something. Got it worse, I'd expected something ghoulish. Blue skin, icicles collecting around the eyelashes, like a body found in the Arctic. But Ben had transformed. Great jagged shards of frozen blood had erupted from the eyes and ears and mouth. His jaw dislocated to an unnatural angle as icicles the size of my forearm forced its way out. His neck was broken, his torso shredded with strips of flesh hanging off in ribbons, and his hands were clawing at his face with bizarre yellow nails. It even left grooves in his skin.
What the fuck is this?
I asked no one in particular, only to realize that HQ had been talking amongst themselves the whole time.
A malfunction in the bag, and
unexpected pressure, temperature changes. No, this isn't normal. Let's not pretend this is normal. Guys!
I shouted, splitting the chatter and leaving silence.
Why are his arms like that? Muscle spasms possibly caused by, well, whatever caused the unusual reaction to his circulatory system. Maybe that caused his arms to curl up towards his face, or there are scratch marks on his cheeks, skinned under his nails. Are we sure he was dead when I brought him out here?
A dozen urgent, alarmed voices, all desperate to avoid even the slightest hint of responsibility, told me no, that was not possible. But looking down at Ben's tortured face, I couldn't help but feel a bit of doubt. I was about to ask what I ought to do next when the sun rose across the station. Unlike Earth, this wasn't a gentle morning. It flipped like a light switch. Thankfully, the suit reacted before I had a chance to blind me. But the temperature began to rapidly climb.